kind of continues what we already shortly told you last week about the LET studying culture, but now kind of in wider perspective and from the more like theoretical point of view, that how does learning look in future and also of course now, but we always try to look kind of be focus on the future. So what are the theoretical bases for learning in 21st century? And maybe you have heard this concept 21st century learning quite often, and it's used quite kind of in many ways. I almost kind of hate the word because, for example, if you go to conference and there are several presentations about 21st century skills or 21st century learning, but it always means different issues. So it's not a theoretical concept, but still it's widely used. And what I kind of often think if we talk about 21st century teaching and 21st century learning, that actually what has changed? If we think like past 20 years, why it's really kind of hot topic now to talk about new ideas of learning or new ways of teaching. Is it a learning phenomenon which is kind of constantly changing, or not the learning itself, but the methods and the teaching methods and studying methods, or what actually has changed? Why we suddenly this 21st century learning is a hot topic? What is different compared to, for example, 20 years ago? And how I like to see it when kind of think about this phenomena is that actually, at least if you think about the society around us, it has changed in many ways. Working life has changed, and the whole way how we are living has changed. We are confronting many different kind of challenging problems, and this kind of problems that there is one single right solution. But they require, in order to solve the problems, for example in working life, but also in the everyday life, requires innovative solutions, creative solutions. They need many persons' expertise. They are not that only single one person can necessarily solve these problems confronted in working life, but they need networks, they need multiple expertise. And of course, also that the whole world is really networked today. We live in a global society. We need our collaborators, we need our networks, and it's really easy to formulate these networks. So we are not kind of living in our own kind of bubble anymore. So collaboration is our everyday life. It's not only that it's something happening when you're learning, but it's the way we live, how we are networked also outside the school, outside of our workplaces. We are networked all the time. And it's important that we have sufficient interaction skills, and that these interaction and communication skills are practiced already in the education, in high schools, in universities, but also already from the first grade, also in the primary school. So this is kind of another side of the story, that there are certain requirements, and the schools and all educational institutes has to adjust to these changes. But from kind of theoretical point of view, also the view of learning has changed quite dramatically compared to 2 decades ago. So how we now today see learning, and what is the core in how we learn and how we study. Like you already know, and which is really heavily emphasized in our study, is that we learn in collaboration with other learners. And we also learn by regulating our own behavior, our own learning activities, but also by regulating the joint activities, by planning joint activities, monitoring them and evaluate them together with other learners. So we need both self-regulated learning skills and social regulated learning skills. And also researches has evidenced that technology at its best can support this collaboration and social interaction, and through that it can support learning processes, both individual learning and collaborative learning. So what do we actually mean when we talk about collaborative learning? And now it has to be highlighted that collaborative learning is not single one learning theory. There is none learning theory as collaborative learning, but it's a combination of different perspectives. What are the social aspects which influences to individual learning process? And it refers to variety of different studying methods where group members have a joint task which is negotiated and decided by the group members. And all the group members are committed to the joint task. This commitment is a really crucial element of successful collaborative learning. And the main purpose is that the group is constructing a joint understanding through social interaction in the group. So this really kind of classical definition of collaborative learning formulated by Dillerberg. And that's where we rely quite heavily. And this is an issue which I already emphasized last week, that collaboration itself does not lead to high quality learning. So there are group work which are not effective or high quality in the mean of individual learning. But it can be effective because it might actuate some important learning mechanisms, like argumenting, explaining, taking roles, looking things from multiple perspectives, asking and explaining. And especially this process, this question asking is really important in collaborative learning. If you have the ability or skill to ask such kind of thought-provoking questions, it has been evidenced in the research that those are the most effective way how you can promote effective interaction for the purpose of learning. How many of you have heard this concept cooperative learning? Because also in the literature it's quite common that these terms are used in the same meaning, that cooperative learning is the same time collaborative learning. But in the learning sciences, these two refers to different kind of group work or different kind of group working method.
Can I add something, please? In the jigsaw sessions, one of we have one section about computer-supported collaborative learning, and it mentions the difference between cooperative learning and collaborative learning.
Yes, yeah, good. So are you familiar with the difference?
Not all of the members, I think. We have discussed that very fast, but I think mostly for those who read that computer-supported collaborative learning are more familiar than the other members. But I think they have just a hint about that.
Do you want to summarize what you discussed in the group about the main difference between these two?
Yes, I would prefer to listen because me myself, yes, because I'm not quite sure about the difference, because they are, I think that they are very close. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Do someone want to, who have read the article, or who have kind of, do you want to say, how did you understand the difference between these two?
From what I remember, cooperative learning was a more division of tasks in a group. Each one has to do his part and then join those parts all together, but it's not real collaboration, emergence of ideas and complexity.
Yeah, that's the main difference. So I think at least we have done, when I was in the primary school, we were doing quite a lot of this kind of group works that, for example, in geography, that you have a certain country and one member of the group had to find out what's the nature like in that country and what's the weather like and other things. And we were concentrating in our own small piece of work, and finally we put everything to the paper. Like we made a one product, but everybody has their own role and their own task and their own small responsibility. We never negotiated about the whole big task, but everybody just did one part to the big task, and then finally putting the pieces together.
Is jigsaw method collaborative or cooperative? I think it's cooperative.
There are both. I think in jigsaw there are both phases, and it's really typical that in collaborative learning there are also phases, this kind of cooperative phases where you have to, it's effective and efficient to divide the task at some point of collaborative work. And I'm not sure if you think, for example, are you familiar with problem-based learning, these 7 steps of problem-based learning, for example? But many kind of collaborative learning methods include phases of cooperative learning. Like in Jigsaw, you have this collaborative, you have the bigger task, and it requires that you negotiate and you change your ideas and try to combine those. But there are also this specific tasks that you read that article, you read that article, and finally you put the pieces together. So I think it's both. But yes, so if we compare these, in collaborative learning, the idea is that the group is proceeding. They have certain steps in order to get the aim or the solve the problem or attain the task, but they go every phase together. That they study together in every phases. They negotiate all the time. They can divide some roles, but they also kind of can change and adapt these roles during the work. They does not stay the same from the beginning until the end, like in cooperative learning. There are static roles. If the group decides that, okay, you are now leader of the group, it stays the same from the beginning until the end. But in collaborative learning, also these roles are negotiated all the time, and they can be changed and adjusted to the requirements of how the task proceeds. And also, cooperative learning includes more individual studying phases. That the task is negotiated in the beginning, and then all the individuals are doing their own job, and in the end these are combined. But in the collaborative learning, the group is working all the time together. So that's basically the main difference between two of those. But like I said, almost all collaborative learning methods includes these cooperative phases. And it's also kind of quite natural.
Sorry, I have a question. Would you please give us more practical example for the difference between collaborative learning and cooperative learning? Because to me it's confusing.
Okay, so if I use the same group work task, that the main task could be something like present, past and present theories in learning. That could be the task that I give you. And if you go like in cooperative way to do it, you share that, okay, you take the behaviorism, you take the cognitive approach, you take constructivism, you take socio-cognitive perspective, you take socio-cultural perspective. Then you go to library and search information, you write down notes and you make some fancy summary about your own topic. And then after a couple of weeks you read again and you put these pieces together. Now we have attained the task, we have a view of past and present learning theories. And all of you have done your individual task. If you do it collaborative way, you start together, discuss first about that, okay, what learning theories we have, and okay, we have behaviorism. You read different articles related to behaviorism, negotiate that, okay, what is essential in behaviorism, for example, and what we should we put to our final product about this. Then you move on together, okay, let's look the next step, let's look together what the cognitive view of learning is, what is essential things of that, again, negotiate what are the most important things, what you want to include to your final product. And you kind of proceed together all the phases until the problem is solved.
Yeah, so as you mentioned that the task is joined in the collaborative learning, but for the cooperative learning we have different tasks.
But the main task is the same. You have to make a summary of different learning theories. That's the main task, which is same in both cases, but that's how you work. The aim is still the same, but the working style is different. Yeah. Did I explain it?
Yes.
Okay. And if you then think that not all kind of that collaborative learning requires, of course, social interaction, but not all kind of social interaction is beneficial for learning. And actually, this topic is my favorite. I looked this topic in really details in my PhD, and it was really interesting to compare successful and unsuccessful groups. That what happened in these groups, I had many measures how I measured a success or failure, but it was really interesting from teachers' perspective to analyze what really happened in these successful groups, that what kind of interactional processes occurred in these successful groups. And it seemed that compared to the unsuccessful groups, they had a lot of those interactional processes were really kind of that they negotiated all the time. They didn't just present some idea and nobody responded to that idea, but they kind of continued commenting, adding new ideas, asking critical questions, and they were really having this kind of reciprocal communication in the group. They were analyzing the problem, and they were kind of bringing new information, not just kind of based their own experience. Of course, that is also needed, but this formal education, or in that case, it was informal education context. They presented all the time new knowledge to support their argumentation, based on research, based on theoretical literature, of course, also based on their own experience, but mainly they were bringing all the time this theoretical knowledge into discussion. And also this, that they were presenting this kind of thought-provoking questions which you just cannot answer yes or no, but they required further elaboration of the phenomena which was under discussion. So these characters, these features characterized the interactional processes of successful collaborative groups in really kind of I have put it in really kind of simple way, but that's the main difference. Okay, do you know what is self-regulated learning? Do somebody want to define it?
Yeah, one can. For example, you're learning Finnish language, and when you're in class, it's just learning. And but when you, let's say, face some problems, when you go at home and you are testing different strategies, you think about how you have learned or problems you have faced. You think beyond your learning. This is, or you want to take another strategies. You talk to your friend, what kind of books are you using, and then this is thinking about your learning, thinking about the way, the strategy, the style that you have taken already, the problems you're facing, the obstacles you're facing. So you go beyond, you are regulating, you are organizing your learning, you are thinking about what you're learning, what you're doing. Self-regulated is a kind of metacognitive strategies. Cognition is learning. Metacognition is about the thinking, how you're learning. For example, we can talk to our friends, share our, okay, I found this book, what are you doing? I'm watching some movie, listening to music in Finnish. So this is thinking and sharing. So of course part of it could be collaboration too, but collaboration could be, let's say, in coordination with the self-regulated learning at the same time too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, really good definition. And it's like you say, it's kind of thinking your own learning and your learning strategies and how you plan your activities. And also it's about changing those if needed. If you confront a problem, you realize that, okay, I have a problem. But if you really self-regulated your learning, you also are able to change your strategies if needed. So, to put it, this is a Timmermans definition that self-regulated learning is a process of learning to plan, monitor, and evaluate your own learning and thinking, motivation and emotions could be added, and behavior in general. So it's kind of simple process, but quite hard to learn. So.
Excuse me, can I add one point to the previous?
Sure.
To all what my colleague has said, a great explanation, I want to add one small point, which is responsibility.
Yes.
If the learner takes responsibility for their learning, they wouldn't wait for the teacher to do follow-up with them and ask them what they have learned and what they want to learn. They will just sit down at home, as my colleague said, and then see what they have learned and what else they need to learn and follow up with themselves. So it's responsibility as well.
Yeah.
One more.
And this is really dealing with the what kind of orientation you have towards learning. Is it just that do you want really to learn, or do you just want to, what is the term?
Study or just
yeah,
spend time.
or just pass the exam. And it kind of leads, if you have a learning orientation, you are committed to the task, you are motivated to learn, and these all are kind of related to the process of regulated learning. And in the collaborative activities, all these same ideas of planning and monitoring, controlling and evaluating learning processes these are the same than in self-regulated learning, but they are done together in the group, and both levels are needed in collaborative learning situations. You need to, of course, think about your own learning, your own process. Where am I going? Am I going towards my tasks or my goals? But you also need to regulate the joint processes of learning. So you have to be committed, the whole group has to be committed in the task. So these are kind of the questions that the group needs to go through when they start to do the task, that are they really interested in the task as a group, because their interest, the motivation is needed in order to commit to the learning activities. And also negotiated within the general aim or task, that what do we want to learn during this process, and how important this task is for us. And then during the collaborative learning, like constantly controlling that, are we now proceeding towards the task? Should we change something? And do we still understand what we are doing, why we are doing? And how can we improve our work? Or can we improve our work? And finally, evaluate that how we succeeded as a group. Did we achieve the goals? Did we achieve our studying aims, which we set in the beginning? Or how can we improve our work to the next tasks? And these processes does not occur spontaneously, not necessarily. It's quite rare that they occur spontaneously, and it's important for the teachers to support or script not just that how this task is going to proceed, like step by step, but also script this regulation process, that stop the group work and support that. Now think that, are you really proceeding towards your task? Do you know what you are doing? Are you concentrating in the right issues right now? And also it's important that teachers already in the primary school starts to support the development of these skills in their pupils. And then the third point which I had in this changing view of learning is that like I said in the beginning, that at its best technology can support learning. And I'm kind of representing the quite, although this is, I'm the educational technologist, but I represent quite a critical viewpoint too. Jari represents the other side of it, so he's like going crazy whenever he sees new fancy tools or softwares, and I'm the other side. So always think that why, when, how you are going to use the technology to support your own work or the group's work. Nowadays you have so many possibilities, so it's quite challenging to pick up the best ones. Of course, for us it's important to test everything, but in the field, in the real school, it's quite a challenging job. But luckily there are a variety of tools, so you always find the best ones, of course. But so these are kind of the requirements that schools and teachers has to react at somehow. They have to prepare their students and their pupils to the future society and also the existing society, and also they have to respond to the challenges which the learning research have set for us. And in Finland, we have a really hectic discussion going on about the situation in schools, that schools are not responding to these challenges. There has been many articles in newspapers that technology is not used enough in the schools, that we have the facilities, we have in schools there are computers, there are iPads, but teachers don't know how to use it. And also the principals of the school does not support. So they are there, the infrastructure is there, but we don't have the skills and the abilities and the knowledge how we should use the technology and these new learning methods, studying methods. And of course, where this is related is that our teacher education has to be improved to support these things, which are mentioned in our new national curriculum. All these things, collaborative learning, how you, these metacognitive skills and the use of ICT. So these all are really important, but they are not in the school. So there are a lot of challenges in education right now that we need to improve our schools, we need to improve our teacher education. And of course we are trying to, from our part, we are trying to affect to these challenges. And how kind of learners, what are the requirements for learners then, how they can kind of respond to these challenges? Have you seen this quite often used division of 21st century learning skills? Who are familiar with this picture?
No.
So it's quite often divided, these 21st century learning skills, both in the more like political papers, like EU papers, but also in the research. The 21st century learning skills refers to ways of thinking, ways of working, tools for working and living in the world. And as you can see, there are these same issues which I mentioned before, like ways of thinking, creativity and innovation, critical thinking, problem-solving skills, metacognitive skills. Ways of working refers to collaboration, communication skills, interaction skills. Also, kind of under the collaboration skills, I would put the self-regulated and socially shared regulation skills. Tools for working, ICT, this information literacy is one concept. I think you are familiar with it, that how to read the information from different resources, how to be critical, how to evaluate the information, the reliability and validity of the information. And I think also the fourth one is really, really important, that how to be a responsible citizen in the global world today. What does it mean to live in this networked society? That you have this intercultural awareness and intercultural competence. And the ideas of entrepreneurship is also part of this, which is actually now a big part of both the university, new curricula at the university and also in the primary school is entrepreneurship, and the kind of it refers more to the attitude what entrepreneurship requires. And I kind of like this quite clear thing how you present. Of course it's quite challenging to put in practice, and it also sets a lot of responsibilities and requirements for the individual learner. So I think this picture illustrates quite nicely that what it is to be a learner in today's and future society. A lot of different roles. And also, as you can see, a lot of things has changed, how we see learning. But then, at least for me, the question raised that what has stayed the same? The human beings has stayed quite the same for a long time, but in learning, what do you think that what has stayed the same? That we know that these ideas, they affect to learning, but if you start to think the human being as a learners. What is the same compared to 50, even 100 years ago? And now you have the iPads. Have you used this Socrative tool earlier? I hope it works because there is really low internet connection in this room, and if all of you goes with your pad or with your smartphones to socrative.com, and then there is a room number. Let's see if it is going to function, hopefully. So set the room number there, and you can think couple of minutes, and then just write. You can discuss with the person sitting next to you and put some ideas about this. Like let's spend like 5 minutes for the brainstorming, and then look what ideas you have.
Yeah.
This is what you produced.
Yeah.
These are not the right answers, but this is just what ideas you. Yeah. Do someone want to say something? Do you agree about this, or do you want to say what kind of discussion you had with you here?
Actually, some sentences is actually something is changing. I think my friends understood it wrong. Yeah, it's, for example, teacher and student character is changing. Also, it's not same. Maybe it's up. If you go up, you can see.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah,
be.
it's. I think it's change. Yeah, it's now teacher is acting like a guide. Yeah, but I don't know. It's,
Which one?
for example, that one is the schooling system is also changing.
Sorry, the upper one
Yeah,
is the new
I
one.
think
Sorry, I don't.
I think what he's saying is that communication between the class and the teachers. That students now just don't respect anything. They're just fidgeting all the time with smartphones on their tables and not listening.
Yeah, that has
not
changed.
concentrating.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
has changed.
fidgeting has not changed, but now we have the tools to do it.
Yeah.
I think that what we wrote now,
Yeah, it's all right.
for,
Yeah. But it's character is
we
changing.
cannot generalize. For example, for some aspects we are talking, because we cannot generalize for everything.
But there are some issues, like I read there that people always have the motivation and the curiosity which has to kind of take into account in learning. It has always been, human beings they have a willingness to learn, and you have to support that. Everybody has a motivation and has always been a motivation to find out new things. It's inside us, that hasn't changed, but how the school reacts to that need, it has varied. And also, there was some point that teachers are, how I interpreted that teachers are needed. Teachers has always been needed, teachers are still needed, but teachers' role is different. Learning does not, of course it happens spontaneously. There's informal learning, people are learning all the time, but in schools, learning really often has to be supported and enhanced. But how the teacher do it, that has changed. The method has changed. Okay, but you can go back to this discussion. I think this is really important to keep in mind that not everything actually has changed. There are a lot of things that has stayed the same and will stay the same.
Can I say something? I mean, I've seen in your discussions, and of course in Finland, there's a lot of emphasis on collaboration or collaborative learning. I'm just wondering if I'm saying, is it kind of the latest trend in learning, or I don't know, is it going to change in Finland? Or let's say if we do not have a collaboration in Iran, for example, I come from Iran, there wasn't any room for collaboration. So aren't we learning? So this is one question. And me as an Iranian, okay, I wasn't educated in a collaborative learning, to tell you the truth. I was on my own, autonomous, independent, self-regulated learner. So it might be difficult for me to work with the others, to tell you the truth, because I should, I don't know, I forget the name of the theoretician, you need to step back from your identity as an Iranian, as a Vietnamese, as a Finnish, as a Finn, to listen to the others. It might be difficult, it might be challenging to me. I mean, I cannot step back from my identity to listen to the others. In theory, on the paper, it's really beautiful. But can I do it in practice? I don't know. And I'm just saying, and another question is the too much emphasis on collaboration. Can we set aside room for autonomous learners at the same time too, or no? I mean, if we are learning in a collaborative way, are we raising or educating the students as autonomous, differentiate learners, or no? I mean, just we are dependent on the others. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a little kind of fuzzy terms or concept that this process.
Yeah. I'm not saying that collaborative skills is the same as learning skills in general. You need to be an autonomous learner also in collaborative group. You have to be aware of your own tasks. But and also, although we use and also in all school levels in Finland, we use sort of the emphasis in collaboration, but we also have want to raise kind of these individual learners who are autonomous, who take responsibilities, who have the skills to also lead their own learning and also kind of work also alone, because you need those skills also. You are not doing everything in some group or in some network, but if you think that what is different compared to 20 years ago, that's different, but still you also need the abilities to work on your own, to kind of take a lead of your own learning and take a responsibility of the whole process. It's not always shared between people, not in schools, not in working life, not in companies, but that both are needed is my answer. But also that's quite new idea also at the university level. I was graduating almost 16 years ago. So I was studying here like 20 years ago. Starting my studies 21 years ago, and we did not have this collaboration thing at all. We had a mass lectures where we participated. We have an exam in the end. It was really kind of individual. And I have been working in this area more than 15 years, and I have seen the change. And also it has affected to how I have taught, because when I came here, in my first years, we have always technology, because I have been in this research unit, but still it was like big groups, a lot of the kind of big group exercises, tests, which wasn't not a traditional test, but we did not use this collaborative learning method because the understanding was different. To understand what is the most effective way to influence individual learning was different then. But the research have moved on, and kind of slowly, when I started to do my own research, I realized that okay, there are like different aspects affecting to learning, and the social interaction is really a key element. Also, I have, like you said, I have adjusted to this, and also been kind of in the edge in that sense. And when I started to do my own research, I realized when I compared different kind of learning designs or different settings, I noticed that there might be something in the collaboration, and now there's like massive research going on in that field. But in future, I don't know what happens. What's then? These are trends. First, there was really this behavioristic views that it's really individual. There is that you give some teacher like provides the information and then you just learn it, you take it as your own. Then there is this cognitive side that okay, maybe something happens inside the individual's mind, and then there was this more like constructivistic side, which gave more room for the learner. That learner is really active, construct everything by himself, and teacher can affect something, but the most active person in the learning process is the learner. Then there's social constructivism, which emphasizes the role of the others, and I don't know what's next. But we have to teach like we, in the light of science, see that what is the most effective way to support learning. I'm not sure if I'm answering to your original question.
Thank you very much.
This is a really important kind of Yeah, I have been taking this issue quite a lot. Believe me.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Can I add something to his first question from an employer perspective, really quickly? People in Iran and in Finland both learn. The difference is that collaboration learning develop for learners certain social skills and critical thinking and some competencies that are very much required in the workplace. So I think collaborative learning is adding to the employability of learners post-graduation.
Yeah, that's the kind of the society.
Like working in a team, building in a team cooperation, collaboration. It's so needed in the, it's measured in the competencies during the interview to get a job.
Yeah.
So people who have had the chance to learn collaboratively and cooperatively, they usually pass the questions. There is something called competency-based interviewing. They pass the competency-based interviewing questions.
Yeah, good point. And one thing which I want to add is that quite often when people are arguing that is learning individual or collaborative, they refer to learning styles. That my learning style is individual. I learn best when I'm working alone, but there might be such thing as learning styles, but they are not stable. You are not, in my opinion, they are not stable. That you are, in all learning situations, you have one learning style which is best for you. It's also about skills. You're studying skills that you have skills also to study in groups. And you need those skills. You need those interaction skills. You need those ICT skills to support your. So it's not about the style. There are of course opinions. I like to study alone, but you just need the abilities also to work in group. Okay, but I had originally like 45 minutes, but
don't worry. Take your time.
Can I ask one question?
yes, sure.
Human beings have the curiosity, they have the motivation, they have skills, which are basically raw skills in the beginning. So would all that matter if I don't have a piece of degree to go into a college or a high school? I mean,
Can you repeat the question?
oh, I just said that I have the skill, I have the motivation, I have curiosity, I have everything. And my skills are pretty basically raw. I need them to get refined, and I have to go to some college or some school. But if I don't have a piece of degree or a piece of diploma with me, can I get those skills refined?
So is it the question that do you need the degree in order to be qualified in?
Yeah.
I think it depends about the society. In Finland, definitely yes, you need the degree. Although you have those skills, and even the degrees in practice, the degree is even not enough. You no matter where you are going to work, the work teaches you the final qualifications needed in the work. But I think it's the other side of the story that you have the curiosity, but and you have the motivation, and you have the abilities and skills, but they are not kind of valued as such. You need to prove somehow that I have this.
So all those points written in the discussion about motivation and curiosity are in vain without a qualification or a validation, right?
I think they are kind of different level issues, in my opinion. Do somebody want to?
It's a matter of evaluation. I mean, for example, let's say about IELTS. There's a much controversy over, for example, I took IELTS in Iran. Someone maybe from another country took IELTS at the same time too. But do they know English at the same level? Of course not.
Another point too is
Sorry?
okay, what I was just going to say is it depends on your society. Those days, back in the ancient times, we didn't need to go to school to prove our skills, but now it's like that's the trend, so you have to go through, and that's what's happening. Everybody's just going to school just to be able to prove that yes, I can read, I can write, I can do certain things, so it depends.
Yes, actually I would like to add something that, for example, when I apply for a job, when I tell that these are my skills and this is what I know, they always ask me to prove my skills by showing them a certificate. So even if somebody who's more qualified, who doesn't have the required certificate, maybe they prefer the person who has the certificate because they think that it is a proof for his skills and his for being qualified for that job.
Yeah, of course, it's yeah, that's kind of a tricky question because how else you can prove your, if you just say that I have these abilities but you don't have anything, how you kind of prove it? So for the employee's perspective.
Previous work experience.
Yeah, and I actually like, yes, that's true. And actually I like when it's a trend in Finland, like, when the schools are hiring teachers, they ask, of course, the certificates, the degrees, but in addition, they choose like 5 best ones, and they ask that can you come to the school and have a lesson to the pupils. And they are seeing kind of actually that how you interact in the classroom. You can't say that from your certificate. You might have the great degrees there, but still you are poor in the contact when you are contact with the pupils. Okay, but this is a good discussion, but I think I need to continue. Actually, we already said that this is a challenge that we have these 21st century learning skills, and of course all the teachers, now we go to the teacher side, teachers need to master these, and it's not a problem. We kind of, in our teacher training, in our faculty, we kind of, these things are integrated in our curriculum. But what is missing is that we don't teach to the future teachers that how do you teach these abilities to your pupils. It's really important that no matter if you can regulate as a teacher your own learning or as an educator, but you also need skills and knowledge how you support the development of these skills in your pupils and in your students. And this is a gap in right now, I think. But what then are the skills that future teachers need in their work? And actually I asked this question from our researchers and teachers who are doing it in practice. They are doing research in this field, or they are educating teacher training students. And there are familiar faces to you in the video. Let's see if it's going to... Let's get it. There are familiar faces.
Oh.
10 seconds. Okay. This is not in public. This is only for you, so don't worry.
It's a pretty tricky question because there are many, but in my opinion, the first one is not to overuse technology because we're IT and it's our focus anyway. And the second one is flexibility because you need to be flexible in order to gain success in many things. And so yeah, the third point is the ability to make and create a good atmosphere inside the classroom because it's very important between teachers and students alike, and if the atmosphere is good, the educational process can reach a totally new and very high level, in my humble opinion. Thank you.
Well, I think the first important skill is organizing skills. In order to teach nowadays, because there are different technologies and different kind of methods and so on, you need to be quite organized on how you use your own time and how you organize all the activities that the students are doing during the teaching or learning. And I think the second important skill for a teacher is to be open about different ideas, different technologies.
I think that future teachers need to have the skills to give room for learning, for the students to learn themselves. Also to support learning in a group, so collaborative learning. And finally, I think teachers need to be able to evaluate students' learning skills.
First, they need to know how to use ICT as a pedagogical tool, and for that, you need to understand how to inspire learning by using the ICT. And thirdly, for understanding these two mentioned issues, you need to know how to professionally develop yourself, so to speak, to be on the edge of the development.
Teachers need skills to support children in emotionally challenging learning situations.
Teachers need to know how to support students' learning skills. Teachers need to have ability to collaborate with other teachers and with their students. Teachers has to be interested about their own learning.
Three most important skills for teacher, education student or future teacher. From my opinion, they are first and most important is collaborative problem solving. Second one is learning to learn, and the third one is ICT skills, how to use different technologies to support that collaborative problem solving or that learning to learn. I think that's in one package.
Connecting theoretical knowledge and the requirements from the working life.
I would say that interaction skills would be number one. Interacting in face-to-face and also online. And communication skills in general. Then I would say that there is also a need for skills related to digitalization, like skills for using different types of tools and adapting to changing situations and developing your own personal capabilities and expertise in professional sense. I think that cultural skills are also very important. I think we see a very multicultural nation within the next 20 years or so. Thank you.
I have to mention that my son has edited this video because he's really keen in all kind of editing and doing his own games, and so I promise to mention that.
How can we reach such videos? How can we reach such
This is the LET YouTube channel, so to start to, if you want to order the channel, if you just put it to the searching field that LET, so then you can. There is not yet many videos, but all the time more are coming. We are just kind of have taking it. We have a faculty YouTube where we formally put our videos, but nowadays we start to use LET channel, so you can follow what's happening there. Okay, now I have a small task for you. I'm just wondering if we have time, but I would like to do it. Let's try this. I'm not sure how this works, but now you heard what our teachers and researchers told about skills future teachers need, and I listed them here. Now your task is to pick 3 of these which you think that are the 3 most essential ones. So pick 3 out of this, 2 or 3 out of this list. Are the most important that you think that teachers, future teachers, should at least master. yeah,
I
it is.
saw now.
Yeah, yeah. It's more like how it looks. It is mainly, I think, for the primary school level. But I like it. It's quite easy to use, and I think it's suitable for the university teaching also. How many of you have used this Kahoot?
Scaffolding.
Some teachers in the primary school tell that the teachers are nowadays using it so much that the pupils are, again, Kahoot, boring, that they have kind of taken it
I'm always losing
seriously.
because I thought that the yes is no unknown.
Okay.
And it is easy to know who has answered.
Yeah, you reveal yourself. Okay, then open the Kahoot. It's kahoot.it. And now I put the sound on because there is this funny noise. I give you the room number again. It's kahoot.it. It might cause problems because there is so many iPads now trying to connect to the same site. So if this is not working, then we.
Is the pin the same as this one?
No, there is the new one. Let's go. So you will get the game pin soon.
I hope.
Okay, ta-da! And there are now 11 skills mentioned, and you have vote yes or no if that specific skill is in your top 3 list. If it's not, then you put no.
It's not that chunk.
Yeah, don't use naughty nicknames.
No.
Don't. I know, but I want to put our name.
Yeah, so often. We provide the open and safety classroom.
Jarilla Ruiz the naughty name.
It doesn't work fully.
Okay, yes.
It doesn't. I open it when there
You
are.
can write the jump. Yes, you can write the jump.
If you're there, just do that.
Who is not in?
I'm
You
not.
have to be 19. You're in.
You're
You're in.
in.
Just 15.
That says you're in. It says you're in.
Yeah,
You're
you're
in.
I know
Yeah.
the name.
16, so 3.
So what is next?
Yeah, wait.
You just wait that I open the game. I just wait that
We will
everybody
play
has.
game.
There are 10 seconds time to give your vote, so that's why I want to. But you just have to choose yes or no. Okay, let's start. 11 questions. You don't have to follow it from here. Okay, flexibility. Is it important or not? Is it in your top 3 list? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Wait, it's 10 seconds.
Go for it. But it's finished. Do you think?
Time up. Game over.
People were affected. Yeah, there are too many.
For a drink there.
Actually, it's most important thing is internet.
There
If
is
you
no
have
internet
internet,
connection.